I just woke up. Coffee Wednesday morning. Happy Homebrew Wednesday. And I am going to brew on a Wednesday. How weird is that? Supercharger. Okay. Oh, by the way, I have some information in this video, so stay tuned. Yeah, so I've been trying to brew for a while. It's just been fucking cold. It's been 5 degrees, 7 degrees Fahrenheit. A little warm spell today. See, everything's melting. It's 8, and but it's colder in the garage than it is outside because it's been so dog-ass cold. And as you can see, bigger and better things. Brewing the Supercharger. Stay tuned. I think the honkers are a little late. It's in the middle of February. Now they're heading south. And plate chiller and brewery wash for days after I brew. And then I force water through the, the beer side. And you'd be surprised what pulls out of this thing. It's pretty nasty. But I do it every time. And so at first I didn't. I probably brewed, like the whole summer with it, with just rinsing it with water. And I thought, you know what, maybe I should just soak this thing once. And I soaked it. And the next day I came back and the bucket was brown. The bucket of brew wash was brown. And then I put the hose to it and I just forced water through it and it shot out brown, shitty looking water for a few minutes. Not a few minutes, a few seconds. And so I soaked it again, did it the next day, and then blew out even more brown stuff. So I like soaked it for nearly 2 weeks and kept doing that. So then I decided from that point forward I was going to soak it every time. And now it barely turns the water, and when I, purge it, it's, just a second, a little tinged, looks like not rust, but light brown. And so I just decided, you know what, I'm going to do that every time. There's really no way to clean these things other than soaking them. So then I'm going to test the efficiency in my beer that I'm brewing today, which is the Supercharger, using the Captain Crush. Moving over 8 gallons right now for the initial strike. Hopefully that's not steaming up too bad. Put my initial strike water in the kettle at 8 gallons, refill, reheat to circulating temperature for this initial strike temp. So I'm going to set the controller to the strike temp desired temperature for the kettle. Once that's up to that temperature, I'll recirculate just the strike water until I'm at strike temp. Rather than trying to gas, overshoot, undershoot, this is the way I'll do it. That will reheat, recirculate, strike temp achieved, drop the grains, stir the mash if I'm close, hold it if I'm not, recirculate until I'm where I need to be, then hold for 20-30 minutes, and then recirculate for the last 40 to 30 minutes depending on how I feel. Right, I don't know if you guys ever noticed or I've ever talked about it, but I do have a bazooka screen in here under the false bottom. So it's basically, I have 2 ways of setting the grain bed, the false bottom rather, then the bazooka screen is picking up the rest. So I never get a stuck mash. Virtually, I've never had an impossible task to, God, they're probably all steam. It's an impossible task really to stick that mash. Now I have my 8 gallons in here. This is refilled and reheating. Once it's at temp, I still haven't crushed my grains yet, so I'm in no hurry. I'm going to add the mash stabilizer to the grains themselves, and then I pour the grain in the water and stir it then, rather than have the stabilizer just settle to the bottom and then I can't get to it past the screen, past the faucet bottom rather. Because this is now at temperature, when I do my calculations, I don't have to consider the kettle as an issue. So I put the kettle, I said the kettle was at 160, or calculations wise, I put the kettle at 160 instead of 42 degrees. So now I only have to consider the grains as far as what's going to shift my temperature in here. 165, my rough calculations are right, Fahrenheit, recirculating. Change the recipe a little bit. I was looking at it and I wasn't really convinced. I had the right numbers, so and the right grain and the right mixture of hops for my, it's technically an 11-gallon batch is what I'm boiling down to 11, but I'm only moving over 10-ish, 10 and a half-ish. So I changed, so for the EBC, it's basically, it's almost 2 to 1, but so your 10 EBC is roughly your crystal 20, so that takes me to the 4% of crystal 20. And the I'm going to use Cara Red, which is basically 50 EBC, and I went slightly over there, but it's actually, if you look at it, it's 90.9999, so and that's just barely a 1 rounded up. So I'm not concerned with those numbers. It's for the and I am using Pacific Jade, and according to the instructions, it was 1.5 grams per liter. It's roughly 41.63 liters for me. 1 ounce is 28.35 grams. So the math comes out, and you do all the 10-minute additions per those instructions, and then you bring the Pacific Jade to get you to 50 IBUs. So that actually only got me to basically a half ounce of Pacific Jade. I hope that's right. Alright, so my recirculation temperature is for 165. I'll shut the pump off and I'll dough in. I'll put my mash stabilizer in first. At 155 initially. I'll just stir it for a minute or two and it should bring it right down. This metal mash bottle is a really nice heat sink. I don't use it unless I've overshot. I'd rather overshoot than undershoot, only because it just takes a little while to get the temperature back up. And 152. Stop talking. You get to paying attention here. Bam. There we go. All right. And the clock. I don't use timers. I'm just old-fashioned. Use the watch. Okay, here's the big deal. Here's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. So I'm working on the new website, and when you first come to the website, what I am seeing or envisioning, what I've already have on my test bed is, it's basically a slider that goes almost to full screen. And in that slider is going to be photographs of brew tubers with their equipment. Now, I don't care if it's a kettle on the stove and or a turkey fryer on the back deck. You put yourself in the picture, a brew tuber, put yourself in your picture, with your equipment on brew day. I don't care. But I need a nice high quality photo. And what I'll do is I'll feature those on the slider. There'll be 3 photos probably every month or so that I'll just rotate out 1 or 2 based on how many I get. And when you come to the website, it'll have your photo, and then also there'll be like a circle in the center that will say who you are, your BrewTube channel. And then if you click anywhere on that, it'll actually take you right to your YouTube channel. So it's sort of a little bit of advertising for your blog. So send me those. I'll put the email address in the video. And just send me a high quality photo, make it a large one, and I'll shrink it down if I have to. All right. I think a photo with your phone lengthwise, so with your, widescreen. Send me those, and I'll be sure to get them up there. All right. Back to the brew day. I'm going to test the pH. Selected the mash, which is monitoring that probe that's going right in, as opposed to the one on the back of the kettle, HLT. So if I switch, the bath water is going to be warmer because of thermal loss. So watch when I switch. See, it's 155. So eventually they converge, but if I which is why I added the second probe, and now it works. Great. Let's see, I'm getting close here to the end. Let's take a look. Smells amazing, of course. With this camera. Alright, so this is my tribute day to our good friend Paul Wixty. I've been watching you guys drink your Supercharger, and I just wanted to wait. I wanted to wait until I had all the ingredients, and I wanted to wait for the Pacific Jade, and then I wanted to brew, but then it was too damn cold, so I actually have a day off where it's warm enough to brew beer, and therefore we are doing the Supercharger. Cheers, Paul. Fire up the boil while it's fly starching. Pacific Jade, bittering off. It's really not that much. While I'm mashing, transferring water, recirculating, any of that stuff, I never have to switch hoses. I never have to pull hoses off. I don't lose anything in that process, the way I have it set up. There is another video that shows the plumbing and how it works, but I utilize a couple of 3-way valves, actually 3 of them, and that allows me to hook up the hoses one time and do whatever I want without having to move any hoses. I do like that about the setup and design. Since I've gone to a 15-gallon mash tun, The HLP is a little too small, but it's a good workaround the way I showed you, where I just fill it back up and then recirculate the strike water and get it to where I want it, and then just add the grains. That way the bath water around the rinse coil is already at temp, so I can begin recirculating immediately if I need to. And even with the smaller setup, it's about 1.5 degrees per minute of Fahrenheit per minute, which is, considering it's a 5,000 watt in that kettle, that's not too bad. I usually start the boil when I'm doing my first runnings, but I just fly sparge over the top of that. So we're already starting to get some hot break there. And let's see here. Oh, we just finished getting to the top of the grain bed. So we still got some good stuff coming out. We'll end up, you can see my previous marks, we'll end up between the two rivets here. My goal, and because theoretically, if you just dropped the wort in there before boil, it would probably fall into that first rivet, but once you start the boil, it actually covers that first rivet with expansion. So you can't ever collect 15 gallons, even though this is a 15-gallon pot, because you would never be able to boil it. It would overflow just from sheer expansion. So I shoot for 13.75 gallons, which is approximately to the bottom of this rivet. Excuse me. All right. And since I'm using a lot of pellet hops today, I'm going to utilize the hop spider. And there's one thing I do that kind of causes people to turn their nose a little bit, but I remove some of the protein on initial hot break. I just scoop it away. I don't take it all off. I just try to get rid of some of it. Protein is around for head retention, but it also creates some of that protein haze. People text me and say, "Don't do that," but I've done it all ever since I started brewing. I don't know why. I have no idea if it really helps. That's it. That's all I'm going to take off. It's all maltiness. So if you noticed I've got my E's here, that's because I've already started disconnecting things. And when you disconnect the probes, you get an E on there. I'll start the cleaning process. Once that thing is stripped of all of its moisture, I'll haul those grains to the back and feed the deer. Alright, we'll cut out now and come back when we're at the boil. So I've just started the boil. I just brought my Pacific jade. Getting to the point where I'm going to have to stop collecting the wort here, because I can't even get a good boil right now. So I'm just going to kill that right now. I'll shut that off. Alright. Been boiling for about 6 minutes. I'm going to start cleaning. I'm going to haul that mash tun out to the deer pile. Show you guys. I'm going to take that off. I've got to go dump it. But one of the other things I did once I got rid of the cooler is, because the stainless steel is sitting on stainless steel tray, it acts as a huge heat sink. So what I did was I just built up some padding to have the mash tun actually sit off of the metal, so that the metal doesn't act as a heat sink. And that did help considerably. Where my pre-boil gravity was. Make sure I was recording that. Okay. Focus. 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 1044, 1045. This is an interesting recipe because majority of the IBUs come from all the 10-minute additions, so pretty heavy-handed. And flame out, it's not adding anything, but it's still pretty heavy-handed as well. And then you're dry hopping. So this beer, I've never had it. I've heard a couple of people review it, but I suspect it's going to be a aroma, flavorful pale ale with very little bitterness, I guess. And we have about 24 minutes left in the boil. 23. So I'm going to get my 10-minute hop addition ready, and we'll drop the Whirlfloc tablets in at the same time. Put that back up there. And it is now time to drop. This is going to be the big hop load I should really smell. I should back that flame off just a bit. Citrus explosion. Awesome. And there's the flame out addition. That's a pretty heavy-handed load. The 10-minute addition was pretty heavy-handed as well. This is kind of like an IPA minus the bittering at 60, the big bittering drop and the 30-minute drop. Be an interesting beer. That's that hop sack. Jesus, God, it's huge. That's what she said. All right, here we are at flame out. So let's flame it out. Poof. Drop that in. So oh my God, Jesus, that smells good. And so now we can start seeing the cold break already. I mean, it's starting to formulate. It's crazy. So I will begin cooling, and my whirlpool will happen during the cool. And I have to leave those hops in there for that. All right, so we're whirlpooling now. But the whirlpool is actually cooling as well. I just haven't hooked up the cooler, the coolant side to it yet, because I needed to get it pasteurized first. But here we are. So the new method now for me is that I am going to cool using the plate chiller and put it back in the kettle until the kettle is down to my temp. That'll allow the hot break to drop. Leave the hot break in the kettle and then move it over to the Blickman. I've already pulled off my sample. Okay, now we're cooling. So now I can keep my hand on it or let it burn off. There's my discharge. I'll recapture some of that when I get near the end. This is all ready, it's sanitized, leak checked, it's ready to go.
It's coming down really quick. Watch, you can watch that go down. It's insane. That's insane how quickly that's going down. Alright, I have successfully whirlpooled and got the temperature down to about 72, but by the time it hits this cold fermenter it should be about 68 Fahrenheit, which is fine for pitching. Of course I'll add the leaf hops in 3 days before I decide to bottle it, 3-4 days I guess. I'll drop the leaf hops in there for dry hopping. I'll blow off the trub probably in about 7 days, and then I'll blow it off again in maybe 12 days or so, just before I drop the hops in. So I undershot my numbers, as I figured I might.
And that appears to work, so I'm getting a lot of the cold break on there. Efficiency goes out the shitter because I get all this left behind, so I need to try to figure out how to get, I don't know, get a screen that sits flatter on there. I don't know, I'm gonna have to research it. I hate this. It drives me nuts. Which is why I brew 11 gallons. Alright, we're just going to direct pitch today. Already sanitized the... Alright. Normally I do a starter, but never got around to it, and I wouldn't buy two. I would make a starter worth one. It's a big waste of money, but I'm going to strap for time. Get to the last drop. Put this on. I'm just going to lock the baby. All in all, it was a successful brew day. I ended up at 1054 once it got to room temperature. It was a little too warm. The next morning, after that direct pitch,
Red alert! Red alert!